the Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion.
And see, he lost standing with his people for doing that too.
God's saying, woe, don't turn to, and actually in this particular passage, the nation of Israel, the Assyrians were coming after them, and the nation of Israel was running to Egypt to make this alliance with Egypt so Egypt would help protect them from this. God's saying, don't go to Egypt, trust in me.
That's right.
And he's saying too here, he said, you're carrying out plans that aren't mine, you're not even asking me.
Mm-hmm.
You're not even asking me first. You're
not coming to me and saying, Lord, how do I get out of this thing? What's the end? You just run down to Egypt. What's Egypt a picture of?
The world?
The world. The nation of Israel was in bondage, in slavery, in Egypt. But what God do? He provided a lamb, and it delivered them out of Egypt and sent them on a journey, right? We're in bondage to sin and corruption in this world, but God provided a lamb. And what did Israel always want to do? They wanted to go back to Egypt.
Yeah, that's
They kept wanting, and what do we want to do?
Where it's comfortable.
We want to keep on going back. That's what Abraham did. But let me show you another reason I believe God put this little story in the Bible. To show us some things that were going to take place in the future. We've talked about typology, right? What's a type? What's typology?
Symbolism.
Symbolism. It's a story that sets a shadow or a mold that has a counterpart, an antitype, that has the fulfillment. Let me draw some things in common with this story and another story. In chapter 12, verse 10, it says, there was a famine in the land. In Genesis 41:54, there was a famine in the land. You remember where that falls in the story?
Joseph.
Joseph and his brothers. Remember? In 12:11, it says that he came near to Egypt. In 46, it says they came down to the land of Goshen. Who was they?
His brothers.
His brothers. In 12:11, Abraham says to Sarai, his wife. In 46:31, Joseph says to his brothers. In 12:12, Joseph says, it shall come to pass when the Egyptians see you, they will say. And in 46:33, Joseph says, it shall come to pass when Pharaoh calls you, he will say. And then he says, when he does that, say in 12:13, that it might be well with me on account of you. And in verse 46:34, that you might dwell in the land of Goshen. In 12:13, the officers of Pharaoh saw her and declared it to Pharaoh. In 47:1, Joseph came and declared it to Pharaoh. In 12:15, the woman was taken in unto the house of Pharaoh. In 47:5, Pharaoh said, settle your fathers and brothers in the best of the land. In 12:15, Abraham acquired sheep and cattle. In 47:6, Pharaoh put him in charge of the livestock. In 12:17, the Lord struck Pharaoh with great plagues. In Exodus 11:1, the Lord brought another plague on Pharaoh. In 12:18, Pharaoh called Abraham and said, take and go. In Exodus 12:31 and 32, Pharaoh called Moses and Aaron in the night and said, take and go. In 12:20 of Genesis, Pharaoh commanded the men, and they sent him and his wife away. In Exodus 12:33, the Egyptians urged the people to hasten to send them away. In Genesis 13:1, Abram went from Egypt toward the Negev. And in 12:37 of Exodus, the sons of Israel went out from Ramses toward Succoth. And Abraham took Lot with him out of Egypt. Who did the nation of Israel take with them out of the nation out of Egypt? Remember? A mixed multitude.
Yeah.
Right.
God's starting to tell us. He's showing us some things that's about to take place. This is how God. The whole Bible These stories, all these stories are significant, and they usually point to something that's coming. And that's what God's beginning to tell us with Genesis chapter 12 and Abraham's journey to Egypt. It's a picture of things that are coming, going to come in the future. So Abraham comes out of Egypt, and I'm not going to read this because we're going to look at this a little bit more next week. But he comes out of Egypt, and he's got all this gold and whatnot. And in verse 3, he went on his journey from the south even to Bethel, where he was a little while ago, unto the place where his tent had been in the beginning between Bethel and Ai, and the place of the altar which he made therefore at the first. And there Abram called on the name of the Lord. And then Lot and Abraham's servants start feuding, right? They start feuding, and Abraham and Lot come together and say, look, there's just not enough space right here for us all to dwell together. And Abraham says, you choose. If you want to go to the right, I'll go to the left. If you want to go to the left, I'll go to the right. And Lot, remember what he did? He looked, and he saw the best, and that's the way he went. And so Abraham, look at verse 14, and we're going to read the rest of the chapter. The Lord said unto Abraham, after Lot was separated from him, lift up now your eyes and look from the place where you are, northward, southward, eastward, and westward. For all the land which you shall see, to you I will give it, and to your seed forever. And I will make your seeds as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then shall your seeds also be numbered. Arise, walk through the land in the length of it, and in the breadth of it, for I will give it unto you. Then Abram removed his tent, and came and dwelt in the plain of Mamre, or the tree or oak of Mamre. Does anybody say the tree or the oak of Mamre?
Trees.
The trees. Again, remember what that pictures? And there, which is in Hebron, and he built an altar to the Lord. Okay, so here we have this story. Abraham coming out of Ur of Chaldees and ending up in Hebron. And I want to walk through this story and try and see the Christian experience, this journey. And what I want us to start really seeing, this is really the first time we see this journey as far as a human being traveling from one place to another. But it's going to show up over and over and over again. You're saved out of and saved to something, and it's a journey in between. And Abraham was called what? What was he? A Hebrew.
Right.
What is a Hebrew? What does the word Hebrew mean?
Somebody from Hebron?
It's, right, yeah, but it's a stranger, a pilgrim, a sojourner, someone that travels, right? That's what a Hebrew is. And he's the first Hebrew that's really mentioned in the Bible. So Abraham was called, we looked at Acts chapter 7 verse 2 and Nehemiah 9 verse 7. He was really called of God out of Ur, right? And we really don't know what God told him except, hey, it's time to go. And so they leave. They leave Ur in verse 31. Terah took Abram his son, and Lot the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarah his wife. And Sarah his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife. And they went forth from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan. But what happened?
There was a famine.
What's that?
There was a famine.
No. But they came to Haran. And they dwelt there. They stopped. And how long did he stay there?
205 years. Right?
No.
Well, I mean,
long,
I'm just assuming.
that's how long he lived.
That's how long Terah lived, but then he died. Terah, Abram's father. So what happened? God apparently called Abram and said, hey, I want you to go to Canaan. Because they said, it says they set out, they came out of Ur to go into the land of Canaan, but they stopped at Haran, and they dwelt there. So what held them up?
Family.
Family. Family held them up.
Yep. Maybe he was getting sickly, that's why he stayed there, and